Howdy, my name is Parinika Tusharbai Joshi, and I am honored to present our research on an important issue affecting college students drinking to cope with discrimination, a barrier to help seeking among college students. We all recognize that college is a time of growth and exploration, but it can also bring significant challenges. For many students, discrimination is one of those challenges impacting their mental health, sense of belonging, and overall well being. Unfortunately, rather than seeking support, some students turn to alcohol as a way to cope with these experiences. This is known as the drinking to cope with discrimination, which is concerning because it can worsen the mental health distress and reduce the likelihood of help seeking when it's needed the most. Our study explores this issue by analyzing the relationship between discrimination, drinking to cope as a mechanism of it, mental health, and help seeking behavior in a large, diverse sample of college students. Discrimination is a significant stressor that has been linked to worse mental health across multiple populations. For college students experiencing discrimination, it's based on race, gender, ethnicity, or other identities, can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and emotional distress. When faced with these challenges, students may not always have access to support systems or culturally competent mental health resources. Instead, some turn to substances, particularly alcohol, to cope with negative emotions, a behavior known as drinking to cope. Drinking to cope is particularly dangerous because it can create a negative cycle. The student experiences discrimination, they use alcohol to manage stress, that worsens their mental health, and then they are less likely to seek professional help. Despite these, help seeking for alcohol use remains low among college students due to stigma, accessibility issues, and personal belief about mental health and substance use. Our objective was given these concerns, our study aimed to examine how drinking to cope with discrimination influences mental health and help seeking behaviors among college students. To explore this, we analyzed data from a nationally representative sample of 2,155 full time college students who had consumed alcohol within past year. Our survey collected information, and the variables we measured were help seeking behavior, whether students had sought help for alcohol use in past 12 months, drinking to cope with discrimination, whether students reported using alcohol as a response to discrimination, substance use patterns, that is, frequency and quantity of alcohol and cannabis use, mental health status, that is, assessed using the PHQ-9 scale, a widely used screening tool for mental health distress, and peer norms, that is, how common students believed drinking was among their peers. For data analysis, we used logistic regression and the structural equation modeling, which generated a path analysis, and that is used to examine how drinking to cope influences mental health and help seeking behaviors. Our key findings revealed several concerning patterns. The first one was drinking to cope with discrimination is common. That is, 20% of the students reported using alcohol as a way to cope with discrimination. The second is drinking to cope is associated with worse mental health. That is, students who drank to cope had significantly higher mental health distress score with a beta of 4.31, which is also significant, indicating that this coping strategy is linked to poor emotional well being. The third is help seeking for alcohol use is low. Only 16% of the students sought help for alcohol use in the past year, showing that even when the students face challenges with substance use, most are not reaching out for support. The fourth finding is students who drink to cope are significantly less likely to seek help. Those who reported drinking to cope with discrimination had 70% lower odds of seeking help for alcohol use with an odds ratio of 0.28, even though they exhibited higher levels of distress. The fifth finding was worse mental health, which is linked to a lower help seeking. For every increase in mental health distress, the likelihood of seeking help for alcohol use decreased by 10%. This suggests that students who needed help the most are the least likely to seek help. The sixth is peer norms influence drinking behavior. Students believed that 63% of their peers drank alcohol. That reinforces social expectations around drinking. This perception may increase drinking behaviors, particularly among students experiencing distress. These findings highlight a concerning cycle. First, discrimination contributes to emotional distress, which leads some students to use alcohol as a coping mechanism. Second, instead of providing relief, drinking worsens mental health outcomes. And the last is mental health declines. The student becomes even less likely to seek help, potentially increasing their risk for long term substance use issues. This is common for the BIPOC, that is, Black, Indigenous, and people of color students who often face additional barriers to access mental health care, like stigma around mental health in certain cultural communities, lack of culturally competent providers who understand their experiences, and also the systemic barriers in accessing affordable care. Additionally, masculine norms and societal expectations may discourage some students, especially men, from acknowledging distress or seeking help. The implications of this are to address these concerns, universities must take proactive steps to promote healthier coping strategies, reduce the stigma around mental health and substance use, expand access to culturally competent care, and also address peer norms around this alcohol use. In conclusion, our study highlights an urgent issue. Students who drink to cope with discrimination experience worse mental health and are significantly less likely to seek help. And this creates a dangerous cycle that could have long term consequences for the students' well being. Addressing this requires multifaceted approach that promotes healthier coping mechanisms, reduce the stigma, and improve access to mental health resources. By recognizing and addressing the connection between discrimination, substance use, and mental health, we can work towards a campus environment where all the students feel supported and empowered to seek help. Thank you all for your time and interest in this important topic. Thank you.